Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. This channel, Avid Science, is all about trying to learn various concepts of Avid Science by practicing a lot of questions. In this video, we are going to solve this question on Leetcode regarding page recommendations part 2. The difficulty level of this question is hard and I'm going to share the SQL schema as well as the panda schema in the description box below. Okay, the question reads, we are given a table called friendships with two different columns, user1 ID and user2 ID. The combined columns is the primary key for this table. Each row of this table indicates that the users user1 ID and user2 ID are friends. We are also given a second table called likes with two columns, user ID and page ID. The combined column is the primary key for this table and each row of this table indicates that user ID likes page ID. Okay, you are implementing a page recommendation system for a social media website. Your system will recommend a page to user ID if the page is liked by at least one friend of user ID and is not liked by the user ID. So we are asked to write a solution to find all the possible page recommendations for every user. Each recommendation should appear as a row in the result table with these columns. So first column should be user ID, the ID of the user that your system is making the recommendation to. Page ID is the ID of the page that will be recommended to the user ID. And friends likes is the number of friends of user ID that like the page ID. Order of the result does not matter. Okay, so here let's go to this example. So here, for example, we have for user 1 ID 1, we have 2, 3, 4 and 6 is also a friend of 1. So basically 2, 3, 4 and 6. So there are 4 people who are friends of user ID 1. And then if we look at 2, 3, 4 and 6, so 2 likes 23, 3 likes 24, 4 likes 56, 6 likes 33, 2 and 3 also like 77 and 6 likes 88. So out of this, one has only liked the page 88. So 23, 24, 56, 33 and 77. These are the 5 pages that can be recommended to user ID 1. Each of these pages have been liked by how many people? So 23 has only been liked by 2. So 1, 1, 1, 1 and 2. So that is what we have in our output, right? So 5 different pages. These 4 have been liked by only one person, but 77 has been liked by 2 and 3 who are the friends of user ID 1. So to solve this question, what we need is let's go step by step. Firstly, from this friendship table, let's try to get every user ID who all are their friends, because this can be two-way round, right? So here you have 1 is a friend of 2, so 2 is also a friend of 1, right? Considering user ID 2, you also need to consider the pages liked by 1 and so on. So let's first do that. How can we achieve that is we can use the union function. So from this friendship table, what we are basically doing is firstly let's keep the columns in the same order that we have. So select star and then let's union this with, so union select return me user 2 ID first and then user 1 ID from this table called friendship. And then what we are going to do is let's save this entire thing in a common table expression. So with CTE as this entire thing goes into parentheses, right? And then what we have is, let us see what we have in this common table expression. So from CTE, let us return both the columns and let me run this. So let's see what do we get. So now if you look at it, we have for user ID, and so basically we have all the possible friend combinations of every user. So 2 is the friend of 1, 3, 4, also we have 6 is also a friend of 1 and so on. So we get all that. Okay, now once we have this, then the second thing that we need is for every friend, right? So for example, this for every user, all their friends, let's try to get what all pages have they liked. So we can perform a join of this common table expression using the user 2 ID and the user ID column of the likes table and get the page ID. So let's do that. So from this common table expression, let us perform a left join of the likes table aliased as L, and then on CTE dot user 2 ID is equal to L dot user ID, and then CTE dot star and L dot page ID. Let me go ahead and run this. Let's see what do we get in our output. So now once we had all the friendships established, we also have for every friend of a particular user, what all pages do they like. Okay, now once we have this, then what we can do is we can go ahead, group by the user ID and the page ID and perform a count of the user to ID column that will give us how many friends like that particular page, right? So we also need the friends like. So let us go ahead, save this entire thing in another common table expression. So CTE2 as, again, this entire thing goes into parentheses. And then what we are doing is from this common table expression 2, let us group by the user one ID and the page ID, right? So if we just, let me just drag it above. Okay, so user one ID and the page ID and count the user two ID because these are the friends of these particular users, right? So let us return user one ID, and in our final output this should be aliased as user ID, right? So let us alias this here only. So user ID, and then return me the page ID, and then perform a count of the user to ID, and let's alias this as friends likes. Okay, let me go ahead and run this. Let's see what do we get in our output. This is not yet complete because we need to filter this. So if we look at this, we have user IDs, the page IDs, the number of friends that like that particular page. Now we see that for user ID 1, 88 is also suggested, and we just saw that user ID 1 has already liked the page 88. So 88 should not be suggested to them. So what we can do is once we have this entire thing, we need to keep only those rows where the page is not already liked by the user that we are suggesting that page to. So what we can do is let's perform a join. So let us save this entire thing in another common table expression called CTE3, right? And then let's perform a join. So from this common table expression 3, let us perform a join called left join on the likes table aliased as, let's say, L2 on. So this is what CTE3 looks like, right? Let me just drag it above. So this is CTE3, and then let's perform a join of, so whether this particular user ID and the page ID is present in this likes table, right? So if you perform a join of CTE3 dot user ID is equal to L2 dot user ID, and CTE3 dot page ID is equal to L2 dot page ID, and let us keep, so select CTE3 dot star, and then from likes table let us keep either the user ID or the page ID. You do not need all the columns, so let us keep L2 dot page ID again here. Let us, the reason why I'm doing it, it would be clear right now. So once we have this, then you see a lot of nulls, and in some cases you have that, right? So what is happening is once we had the common table expression 3, where we firstly had, okay, for every user ID, the pages that we are going to recommend and the number of friends that like that particular page, we also need to filter that, hey, if that particular page is already been liked by the person, you do not need to keep that. So once you look at the likes table, so for example, one has already liked 88, and since you are performing a join, that means for 1 and 88, it is going to find that match in the likes table and is going to populate it, right? So 188 is being populated. But if that person has not liked that particular page, you will not have that user ID and page ID combination in the likes table, and that means it is going to return you a null value, right? So in this case, we only need to keep those rows where your L2 dot page ID is null. So let us keep only those rows where L2 dot page ID is null, and let us remove this from the output, and then let us go ahead and run this. Let's see what do we get. So yeah, this is accepted. Our output is exactly same as expected output. Let me go ahead and submit to pass all the test cases. So yeah, this is accepted, and this is how to do it. So yes, tricky question, lengthy question. What we had to basically do was, firstly, what we did was, firstly, we found out all the friendships Then once we had the friendships, then we found out, okay, what are all the pages liked by the friends as well. Once we had that, then for every user ID and page ID, we counted how many friends like that particular page. But the question also asks us not recommend those pages which has already been liked by the user. So we filter that out by using a join. So yeah, this is how we do it. Let me know if there's a better, more efficient solution to solve this question. Let the solution be in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.